Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. Today's a little bit different than most. So, Caleb's girlfriend is very, very, very sick. So, he is not able to join me in the studio today. So, instead, we queued up a absolutely star-studded cast tonight. Of course, you hear the chuckle. We have the giant avian individual, GiantSkyHawk.
Hello, I am a large avian individual.
And of course, we also have, I say of course, like it's a usual thing, but we also have the one, the only, the Don Juan. What is up?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
It is awesome to have you. You are always welcome. Thank you, boys, so much for joining me last minute. And when I say last minute, I mean literally, I gave you like no notice at all. I was like, hey, hop into a VC right now. We're recording a podcast. And here we are. So. But you being the wonderful people you are, we're just so happy and willing to just hop in on a moment's notice. So
Absolutely. Remote dual locals was only 2 rounds tonight, so I had a lot more time than I thought.
you know what? We take those.
Exactly.
So we have a good amount of stuff to cover tonight, actually. But the first thing to cover is we do have a bit of quick play news. We do have an announcement from Konami. They announced this in a PSA sent out. I know they sent it out through Twitter. I don't know exactly where else they sent it out through, but there was an announcement made that the Max Gold series will be late in some places, potentially. Does that sound correct to y'all?
Yep. I think they said there might be due to some production issues and some shipping issues. I think the exact statement was not all stores and retailers will have product available on the release date of November the 19th.
Well, I think that it's important. The most important thing to note here is, of course, exercise patience with your local game stores and your OTS stores. They can't control this. This is a supply chain issue a lot farther up than your local store. So be patient. Try to work with your stores and know that they will get their product in as soon as they possibly can. Past that, I think the next thing to do is to do a quick patron shout out to all of our Patreons. And then we will do a couple other little things and we will move on into the actual meat and potatoes of the podcast. So, thank you, of course, to Austin Johnson, Kane Martin, Mocha Myth Oceanus, Pig, Scuzz Daddy AD, Aaron Gardner, Anthony Lila, Damian Zink, Mountain Man, Owen Alvarado, Jeremy Drysdale, Ray Powell, and Sunny Sweet. Thank you all to our patrons for supporting the podcast. And if you are interested, you can find a link to that in the description below. In the description below, you will also find a link to our Discord server as well as our Twitter account for the podcast. Be sure to check those out. I think in the description below, you're also going to find links to GiantSkyHawk's Twitter and the Don Juan, whether it be his Twitter or his Twitch, whatever he would prefer.
Don actually just uploaded a banger video that you should all go watch as soon as you listen to this podcast.
You okay there, Don? You sound unsure about that.
Go check it out. Go check.
It's a good video. It's a very good video. You should go see.
Great smile.
It's a big smile. We will absolutely leave a link to that in the description below. So thank you all again for joining us. Let's hop on into the big stuff. We have a bunch of new cards to cover really quick. And then after
new
that,
cardboard.
Absolutely. I love to hear it. So we'll get we're going to talk about the new cards that got released, and then after that, we're going to do a tier maker list for the current format. So, first thing to talk about is Marincess a Coral Triangle. Oh boy, it searches things. So, Marincess Coral Triangle, this is a Water Cyberse Link 3 with 1500 attack. Its link arrows are directly up, bottom left, and bottom right. Materials is 2+ Marincess monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate either of these effects except water monsters. First effect, you can send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard. Add one Marincess trap card from your deck to your hand. 2. If only your opponent controls a monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon any number of water link monsters from your graveyard whose total link ratings equal 3. Seems good, right?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, they finally have a way to search Marincess Wave, and that's like a really big deal because Marincess Wave is Dark Ruler that also makes all of your monsters unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. And if you have a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, which this card is, you don't have to set it. You can just straight up activate it from hand.
Which this
So
is.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So this basically just searches Dark Ruler plus blanket protection for all of your stuff on board, which is really really sick for playing around a lot of removal. Like I think the only thing this doesn't dodge is evenly matched because something like evenly matched would affect the player. But no, this card is very good, and the fact that it's also just like a part of the regular Link climb, like you're making a Link 3 super easy through Coral Anemone. If you have any extenders, you can still go through Bubble Reef. Um, and if you need to, you can like there's other cool trap targets. Like there's one that helps enable OTKs. I think it's Current is the one that will probably help because this deck also like can struggle to put up lethal before access code. But now that there's ways to work that out through this that don't have to go through access code plus waterlock. I don't know if this like rockets it into the meta or anything, but this is a very 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 good card.
I think it is interesting to note, though, that yes, it searches Dark Ruler, but you have to climb up into a Link 3 to make that happen.
Yeah, that's not very hard. They have a link to that just specials a water for free from your graveyard and then locks you into waters.
Fair
Uh,
enough.
so yeah, so making this is like extremely trivial, which is why I'm like, this is actually a really really good card. The only question is like obviously like you do have to get there, but like any two of their monsters does this.
Right, right. Alrighty, well, that's that. Let's go ahead and move on into the Albaz stuff. So this is more contents of the Albaz structure deck coming to the OCG. This deck is gonna have a ton of new cards in it. Let's go ahead and talk. Let's do the first trap card. Why don't Skyhawk? Why don't you do the first trap card, and then Don Juan, you can read out the second trap card, and then we'll jump into the fusions.
Rotation time, you got it. All right, so this is Rakuin no Tsurugi. That makes me think of Mitsurugi from Soul Calibur. But anyway, this is Branded Blade is how they're translating it. Normal trap. You can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. So first, banish any number of branded spells or traps from your graveyard. Special summon that many Ice Blade tokens. Dragon Dark level 8, 25. Interesting. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished Fallen of Albaz monsters, or monsters that specifically list that card in their text, and add it to your hand. This
Wow.
seems really weird.
Seems like bannable good, right?
Uh,
I mean,
Summon,
no, it's a trap.
summon. What? Summon as many tokens as you want.
So I mean, getting branded spells traps in the grave is kind of funky.
Yes, that's true.
And like, and the problem is like it's that first effect you have to activate it on the field. So you'd be summoning the tokens like on your opponent's turn. Now, like if you're using them to fusion summon, then maybe there's like a way to make this work. But I feel like this is not very good. I don't know how you make this work.
yeah. If my only issue here is because it says banish any number of branded spells and traps from your graveyard. That's kind of funky. If it literally just said special summon as many like Ice Blade tokens as possible, like that'd be a different story. But yeah, you kind of have to load your graveyard up first.
Yeah. The other problem too is it's one effect per turn once that turn. So it's like you can't even recover the spells or traps on the turn that you activate this. You have to wait till it comes back to your turn. or you have to just like sit on this until your turn and then recover on your opponent's turn. I feel like I'm not a fan.
I guess that makes. I guess the more you explain it, the more it makes sense. Plus, there's only like 3 or 4 branded spells and traps before these hit.
Yeah, and I don't know that much about the deck, so it could be that this is actually crazy, and I have no idea. But as it stands, I don't think this will see much play.
I think that it would rely. I think you're probably gonna have to run Foolish Burial Goods in this deck if this is a
Yeah,
main component of
and
using it. You know,
for just recycling the fusion spell when I think there are other ways to do it, I don't see why you would play this.
well, it's not just the fusion spell; it also recycles the actual Fallen of Balbaz himself. You know, or any of the other. There's like 4 or 5 monsters that list him in his text that were or any of your fusions. I mean, it can recycle your entire monster lineup.
That's true. So maybe like one of this and some FB goods, but I'm not sure how good that recovery is the same turn you use it. I think that would be the question.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. All right, Don, let's talk. Let's go. Let's go to the next one.
All right, so the next card we have here is called Rakuin no Tsurugi. Or no, that was the first card. My bad, guys.
You're good.
Rakuin Danzai, and that's called branded condemnation. Condemnation. It's a counter trap. I cannot talk right now.
I thought no, it's just
We're all
you-
very
you
tired.
said-
It's okay.
you said something else.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. No one caught that.
Nobody knows what I'm referring to. We're good.
We're all children. Go ahead.
You can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. The first effect is when a spell, trap, card, or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monsters. Return a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albez as material to the extra deck. 1 control or 2 from the graveyard, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then its second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 branded spell / trap in your graveyard except branded. I cannot say it right now. Condemnation, and add it to your hand.
You got it.
So it's a counter trap that only negates special summons or the effects that special. So it's like a.
It doesn't even do the special summon itself. It only does the effects.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
tough,
kind
buddy.
of like negating instant fusion or like a poly or something like that.
Yeah, but not if Magical Meltdown's up.
Well, that is true.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like
Mediocre.
yeah, this seems like fine because like negating Shadal fusion with this is pretty cool, and there are a lot of cards that do this that you could hit, but it seems like for something you have to set up a fusion monster to use, it's kind of crappy. I do like that it recovers from the graveyard. That makes a little more sense, but this feels like a lot of work to set up something that's more situational. I'm with Dawn. This is kind of meh.
Yeah, this one's even worse than the other one, if I'm being honest, in my opinion. I mean, I would rather just run Solemn Warning if I want this effect, because then I can actually pop a summon myself.
Exactly. Yep.
So, all right, the next card is I'm not. Listen, guys, y'all can try to do the Japanese names. I'm
I
not
can do
even
that.
trying.
I took some
Go
Japanese
for
in
it.
high school.
Do the Japanese name.
Yeah, so
Go.
this is Hikenryu Mirror Jade.
I just want to say, you took Japanese in high school.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I have been in the Canadian school system? All right. Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. So this is a level 8 Dark Worm Fusion Effect monster. It has 3,000 attack and 2,500 defense. Materials are Fallen of Albaz and 1 Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster. So Fallen of Albaz and any extra deck monster?
Pretty much.
But not whatever their new one is in 3 years.
Yeah.
1, you can only control 1 Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon. Well, better be good. 2, once per turn, quick effect. You can send 1 fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck to the graveyard. Banish 1 monster on the field, but this effect cannot be used again next turn. Interesting. 3. If this face-up fusion summoned card you control leaves the field by your opponent, you can activate this effect, destroy all monsters they control during the end phase of this turn. So it's like, summon this, and then you can send Titaniclad, and then if your opponent specifically removes it, then like later on in the duel, you'll get an absolute 0 effect. This sucks.
Now, I think the thing to point out about this, the existence of this card makes like the physical card Fallen of Albaz more playable, because this basically turns Albaz into like super poly for any like individual type of monster, but you can respond to Albaz, which it kind of sucks. But this existing does mean that Albaz has a lot more utility in terms of removing stuff from the field going second.
Right. Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. But at the same time, I mean,
Albaz is still a really steep cost. Like, you still have to discard a card. You have to like get it on the field. So unless you can like chain block Albaz somehow, it's kind of iffy going second.
I didn't realize Albaz could use monsters from either field as fusion materials.
Yeah, if they have some way to like special Albaz on like your opponent's turn, then this card is nuts. Because if you set it up going first, you can Albaz just take any extra deck monster they make. Because Albaz triggers on summon, right? So
does it?
Yeah, Albaz is when it's normal or special summoned, except during the damage step. So if you can set up like an Albaz summon, then this card actually seems pretty solid. But it like on its own, it's not that great. It's more like what it is rather than what it can do.
Right. If only Albaz was a level 3 psychic.
You wanted to E-Telly for Albaz?
Just E-Telly it. That'd be great.
Just E-Telly Albaz.
If only, if only.
Sure, yep.
Yep. All right, I'll let you. How do you look at that name and confidently pronounce it?
I mean, it's just a name and then a thing. It's Shenenryu Rebellion. Rebellion, the Divine Flame Dragon. Level 8 Dragon Fusion Effect, 2500, 3000. Materials, 1 Dark Monster and Fallen of Albaz. So that's, again, good that they're giving us, like, more generic ways to use Albaz. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can discard 1 card. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Rebellion, by shuffling fusion materials listed on it into the deck. Deck from among your cards.
All of these cards seem very how do I put this lightly? Bad. Like they look cool. They look really cool, but they're
bad.
They're not doing anything is the issue. Like,
yeah, you're totally right.
I don't know.
No, wait. No, they do something.
No, you're exactly right.
Here's what you
do. Don't do anything.
You summon Rebellion, this guy, the second guy. Use his effect to banish stuff from your graveyard to summon the other guy, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you link 2 into Verte and summon Dragoon.
You can't. You're locked into fusions.
Never mind. They're useless.
They're bad. It's just not good.
Yeah, this is bad. This is rough.
I mean, like, take a deck like this looks like a casual deck. Like, there's no way you will ever see this deck in like top cut of a YCS. It's impossible.
Probably.
Yeah. I think this. Yeah, and to be fair, I think it is cool that some of the lore stuff here is kind of lower in power and it like gets its own structure deck, so you could do cool stuff with it. But it's none of these cards are really very good. Like, the best thing you could say about them is that they make Albaz much better as a super poly, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's a deck. That's all I got. Yeah, it's a deck. So let's just go on into the really cool part about this. Let's talk about the tokens.
Oh yeah. These are
So,
beautiful.
I mean, yeah, these are awesome. I have no other words. All of the art is amazing. If these don't come in the TCG version of the structure deck, I'm just gonna order the OCG version. Just that simple. So
True. To be fair, these tokens are
yeah,
amazing.
every one of them.
These are really, really awesome tokens.
So
Yep.
and the craziest part to me is that they did something that they haven't done on tokens previously. We got flavor text for tokens.
That
Did
is
y'all
true,
notice this?
actually. I
This is a
really like
first.
that.
Very interesting.
I actually did not notice that. That's pretty
Yeah,
rough.
like I'm down, to be honest. Like, let's just get rid of normal monsters and make
This-
tokens flavor text.
No, we have to keep normal monsters. I like normal monsters.
Let's get
too
rid of
much. We need
Terra King,
them.
Salmon, and
Tokens.
Pacifist. Let's just get them
Uh,
out of here.
might I remind you that tokens are normal monsters.
Oh,
So
no.
get owned, nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an Albaz token, an Ecclesia token, a Tri Brigade token, which just has all the Tri Brigade monsters on it, which I need. And it literally just says pull the trigger. It's amazing.
Yeah, I
And
love
one
that.
that's the two Virtuous, which is like the two holy maidens. So, and then
Well, no, the one of them is Albaz.
yeah. And then Aluber, the Wicked Dogma. Yeah, there's 5 tokens in total. So,
That's true.
and there's a list of cards being reprinted here in addition that I don't think we'll get the same list of reprints if we get this structure deck. But they've got both the baby dragons, the Thunder King, Lightning Strike Kaiju guy, Darley Safer, which would actually be a cool reprint here too. Keeper of Dragon Magic, which you might know from being played in a couple of Dark Magician decks as like a Dragoon Turbo card. Effect Veiler, Fusion Gate, of course, it's a fusion deck, so it's got to put Fusion Gate in there, guys.
Mhm.
Dark Ruler, Necrofusion, based. There can be only one, and Dimensional Barrier.
Hey, to be fair, Tikaboo probably needed a reprint, or needs a ban list. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was gonna say.
and Necrofusion is extremely based, but that's about it.
Any other thoughts here, Phyllis?
It's kind of cool to see Safer get a reprint, as well as Dark Ruler.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Safer definitely
Dark
needs
Ruler
it.
Yeah.
reprint. D Barrier.
D Barrier's creeping up in price. Have y'all noticed that?
D Barrier may creep up in price, but it will never top how much it cost when it first came out. I didn't play the game, but I knew that card wasn't it like $100?
It was very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 150
This
Canadian
card was
when it was at its peak.
Just the fact that activate a trap, call XYZ against like something like Zodiac. What do they do?
Yep,
Their turn is over.
It was extremely oppressive. Notably, there are cheap copies of it right now. It was reprinted both in Cyberse Link and in Spirit Charmers. But if you want that, if you want the Mega Tin or the Invasion Vengeance secret rare, that's gonna shoot up real fast.
Yeah.
There's a cheap hollow.
You can get near mint first ed secrets for like 15s. 15, 18.
Oh.
Crazy that people used to pay like 150 for that.
Yeah, it's crazy that people would pay like 100, 120, 150 dollars for a Yu-Gi-Oh card and then just for it to get reprinted, idiots.
Come on.
Mhm.
Come on.
Budget player hours. Let's go.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those forbidden droplets that I just offloaded.
Hey, I got I got a freaking RDI Cube invite with an $80 Fluffle list. It's doable, but it's like annoying that staples are so expensive.
Yeah.
I think it
Hey,
really
you know
sucks.
what? Screw Staples. Just play Anti-Spell Fragrance and Imperial Order, and you guys are good to go. Trust me.
Very true. Yep.
Where's your lightning storms now?
I mean, yeah, you got it. I mean, IO even answers Duster.
True.
Well, the next one to talk about is some Mayakashi cards. I believe it is the Dawn's turn.
Mayakashi's? Alright, hold on. Let me pull this up just to make sure.
Let's say we may not have actually sent you the link to this one.
Okay. It's in chat. It's
It's
just a
there.
bit lower down.
This just came out today, actually. So,
Yeah, like right as we were about to hit the record button.
yeah,
this
this is huge, by the way, for everyone listening in. So here we go. We have Taruhi no Mayakashi Yuki Ana. Yuki Ana, the Icicle Mayakashi, which is a Link 3 water zombie Link effect monster. 2400 attack. And it has pretty good Link arrows. They're all pointing down. And its materials is just 2+ zombie monsters. So this is theoretically generic for zombies. You can use all the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. You can only control one Yuki Ana the Icicle Mayakashi. If this card is special summon, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects. And then the third one is quick effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one of your zombie synchro monsters that is banished or in the grave. Honestly, it's pretty cool. It looks really good, that's for sure. I'm gonna assume it's gonna come out as a secret rare. But
maybe the set that it's set to premiere in is kind of a weird set.
and if I may I read the real problem card.
Problem?
So
I think you mean solution.
I
Yeah, go
this
for
is
it.
called Mayakashi Shiranui Gatari, which is Ghost Meets Girl, a Mayakashi and Shiranui's Tale. This is a normal trap card, so this is a trap trick target. And this is where okay. You can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. Its first effect reads: tribute one Mayakashi or Shiranui Synchro or Link monster. Neither player can special summon monsters from the hand, deck, and extra deck for the rest of this turn. So,
Not
I don't
that there's any
know.
good decks that do that, right?
I don't know if you guys are reading this, but this is literally better than Vanity's Emptiness.
I when I first read this, I didn't realize it said Shiranui Synchro. That's massive.
Like,
Yep.
this card is insane. This is. I like how we were just talking about D barrier. This is literally better than D barrier. It's searchable. Hand, deck, and extra deck. So I literally can't compare this to any type of floodgate that's come out.
You can do the
Recently.
second effect too, real quick.
And then the second effect is you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one of your banished zombie monsters, return it to the graveyard. That's also pretty good.
Nice DD Crow on my Eldritch, idiot.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And then in this set, there's a ton of Mayakashi reprints. Because, and as well as Doom King, Baylor Drock, and Zombie World. But I'm pretty positive Mayakashis only have one printing, and it was from the same set that Prank Kids came out in.
Yep, Hidden Summoners.
Yes, thank you. Which was a really funny set, honestly.
Yeah. It's a weird side set.
Guys, I think we might have a problem here with this card.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, bigger than I had initially thought, right? So
Give me
the
your initial
Mayakashi
thoughts
link,
before you
right?
do that. Give me your initial thoughts.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll get into what I just looked up after. It's game changing, but I think this card is meta warping. There are a couple of things to note. Obviously, Mayakashi is not that great, but the engine itself has some pretty sick stuff it can do. Um, like Mayakashi Eldritch was a legit build of the deck in the very early stages of Eldritch building, so it's not something to like laugh off, right? Um, and it has weaknesses going second. This card doesn't do that much going second. But the problem is like the fact that this is searchable and even like reasonably consistent in the decks that play in completely change how you have to deck build. And it could be that I'm overhyping this. Like obviously we will have to see how something like this performs. But the fact that anything has consistent access to a trap with an effect this oppressive that has very little counterplay aside from like stopping them from sticking one of the monsters on the board is really crazy. Like Red Reboot is the only card that stops this. So you like this existing at all in any kind of metagame means you have to play like mid range or control,
Yeah.
or like you have to like accept a die roll on combo. So I could be overreacting here, but I think this card is like genuinely meta changing if it sees any level of play.
And we should also mention that not only does Mayakashi have access to this card, but we should also mention that Mayakashi also has access to a lot of decks play Shiranui Swallow Slash, which is theoretically a pop 3. So
Yep.
they can afford playing a lot of back row, and you know, this card
Yeah.
alone, and they can OTK very easily. Very
Yep.
easily.
What are you gonna do against this trap card set Swallow Slash? Set 3? Cool. Swallow Slash pop your whole back row in the end phase.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
there will be a build of this deck that sees play.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I don't know if it will be top tier, but this is gonna
I
see
mean,
play. People are gonna try this.
realistically, think about an Eldritch deck that could really abuse this engine. You know, when you think about it, an Eldritch deck that can recur things from the graveyard, your Shiranuis and your Mayakashis can recur themselves from the graveyard to present lethal. What is your opponent going to do? Activate Nib? Chain this trap card. They can't summon their Nib. What is your opponent going to do? Is it going to. There's just not a lot of interplay.
Yep.
It's really good.
And the fact that it doesn't lock you from summoning out of the graveyard means that you get to play, but your opponent doesn't, most
Yeah,
likely.
exactly.
Because and for those who don't know, Shiranui and Mayakashi love to play out of the graveyard.
Yeah.
Shiranui has monsters that like synchro summon by banishing cards from the grave. There's like, oh, I don't know if that would work under this trap. But the thing that I had found, and I wanted to check this just to make sure, we may have a problem here. Turns out this trap is generically accessible because you contribute Shiranui synchros. There are 2 Shiranui synchros that do not require zombies to make. They are completely generic. And that is Shiranui Sword Saga and Shiranui Squire Saga, both of which just require 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monsters.
What level are they?
Level 5 and level 7.
Awesome.
So literally
hey.
any deck that can get to the trap card can set this
Think
up.
about this. A Drytron deck can normal summon Diviner, send
No.
a level 4, and then special summon a Drytron, and that's 7. And then they have the 7 Shiranui, and then they can, because they've been looking for a good 7 to go into with that combo. They were running Black Rose for a little while as like a board wipe, then go into your own combos as almost like a recovery thing.
Uh,
But this is a level 7 that gives you access to a floodgate.
This is straight up a level 7 generic synchro. So if you have like any way to get to this trap at all, you can access this.
Think
card.
about a Tri-Brigade deck, like normal summon Rescue Cat, summon one of the level 2 summon like a Kit, and then the level 3 Tuner Beast,
Yeah.
and then just like
This has
Fabled.
yeah, synchro up,
Fabled could
synchro,
rock the hell out of this.
yeah, synchro up into a 5, and then set the trap card on your end phase.
Like
You know,
I'm
or set
thinking of
the trap
like
card in your main phase, and then activate it in your opponent's turn.
Yeah, I'm now thinking of like engines that just can like have like 1 or 2 cards, 7 card synchros that could like just play Trap Trick, and copies of this like Psy Reflector
Oh
is
god.
one you could play an assault mode engine to do this and just play like crazy stuff. You could in
What levels can
theory
Sword Soul hit?
I don't know if they could make this. They could. I think they can, in theory, make sevens, but I don't know if they
I think
would.
they run what? They
Uh,
usually run at least 1/7.
so I think the thing to consider here is if you have anything that can just like send the trap to the graveyard, you can add it back with Aurora Dawn, and then just make this.
Oh,
Yeah. So I figured I'd bring that up just because I saw it, but technically, people could access this
I've got a really
directly.
dumb one for you. Any deck with level 4s, normal summon Ash Blossom. Boop.
Just make the 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all I've got, but I think this card is crazy, and even if it doesn't see that much play, I think people will try it.
It is potentially insane. I will say. So, and of course, all the Mayakashi dudes are getting reprinted.
Yeah, I don't know, Don. You mentioned before you had someone who plays this. Do you think this like rockets them into playability, or is this like?
Man,
Do you think this is a meme?
this card is like so insane that I feel like yes, people are gonna try to play it. Because people can be like, oh yeah, this deck sucks. Oh, just Nibiru them, etc., etc. Well, the thing is this when this deck is able to synchro climb, it has a really ridiculous grind game unless you can banish all of their targets or get rid of because I'll just like read like one of the synchros.
Hmm.
But I'm pretty sure every single synchro has this text where if it's destroyed or like sent to the graveyard, if okay, here's what it says. If a synchro monster in your possession whose original level is 11 is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one other zombie monster from your graveyard. And if you do special summon this card, and then it has an effect when it's special summoned, like this one can destroy one monster controls non-target. But every single one of the synchros has that clause where if you get rid of it, like pop it in any way, or they just keep coming out and they can spam the board really easily. Yuki Musume, which is like their best starter, I'm pretty sure it can dump any zombie monster from deck to grave. It's a foolish burial and it full combos. This deck can one card full, synchro climb.
This doesn't
But
even.
man,
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
This isn't even mentioning the graveyard effect. Like, obviously, it's one effect per turn once that turn, but like, if you happen to like discard this or mill this or send this in some way, you can just put a Mizuki back in your graveyard. Like,
Very true.
so it's this seems really really strong. I don't know if it's like I think it is meta. I think it's potentially meta warping, if not just very very good.
Yeah.
As if it wasn't bad enough that the deck could already just play Zombie World.
Yeah.
Now, Zombie World with IP up is a monster negate, and then you also get access to Vanity's Emptiness, but during your opponent's turn. Crazy.
Yeah. It's absurd.
I mean, people want more decks to be playable. Here you go.
Yeah,
It's
no.
playable.
That is very
On
true.
one hand, this is cool because it might mean people will play more mid range or control decks. But on the other hand, this is just such an unbelievably stupid win con. It's kind of like how in like I would compare it to how True King of All Calamities with Virtual World warped the format. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it made control decks a lot better because control decks didn't care about VFD. So you could play all sorts of other like interesting decks because it was a hard counter to the Calamity strategy. But it's still made for a really really unhealthy and unfun play environment. So while I think
Yeah.
this being in the format for a while would be cool, I think it could be too good.
I think you are correct. It is potentially very splashable and very good. Well, that will do it for the new cards, though. We are going to take a quick moment to do a quick ad break. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our tier maker meta list. So we do want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, ETB Games in Alexandria, Louisiana. Now, this episode is airing on Friday the 12th. If you are listening today, then tomorrow, Saturday the 13th, which I know it's basically zero notice, they are having their ETB Battle City Day. This will be a GOAT tournament and we will run Edison and advanced pod tournaments as they come up, as they fill up. So if you are interested and if you are local, please check that out. If you're not local, please be sure to go to their website. Link will be in the description below. And let's go ahead and get on into the tier maker. So we have here a list of, it must be 30 some odd decks. Some of them, I'm going to be honest, I don't know why they're here. But we're going to go ahead and we are going to work on it. So we have 5 tiers here. Tier 1, Tier 1.5, Tier 2, Rogue, and Do Not Play. Just DNP. I mean, you play it, but like, don't. It's not very good. I'm just gonna say. Which there are a few of those decks on this list.
Yeah.
So, a quick rattle off of all of the decks and all of the lists. We're gonna try to move this along really quick because we don't have a ton of time left. But we have B Trooper, Cyber Dragon, Numeron, Sword Soul, Prank Kids, Machina, Amazement, Despia, Adignister, Magikey, Dinosaurs, BA, Altergeist, Dragon Link, I think.
Yeah.
This one is
That's
not
zombie.
Zombie. That's right. I keep wanting to say Ogdo Addict, but it's Zombie. Shadal, Adamancipator, PK,
Right.
yeah, Drytron, the Invoked, the Dingus, Infernoble, a different Dragon Link.
It should be Dragoonity.
Yep.
Okay, so specifically Dragoonity.
Yeah.
Fluandereeze, the Live Twin, Hero, Madolche, Salamangrate, Tri-Brigade, Eldritch, Dogmatica, Gren Maju, Sky Striker, Subterror, Zodiac, Virtual World, and somebody help me out. Orchist. Okay, see,
It's okay.
It's all good.
I'm going to be honest. It's pretty amazing that I got through that as easily as I did.
You honestly did pretty good.
That's pretty solid.
You did pretty solid.
Yeah, considering I've never even played against like multiple of these.
I'm
not going to say most, but quite a few.
That's what Don and I are here for, Sonny. We can catch you up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
So, we're going to start at the front. We're going to start with B Troopers. How do we feel about B Troopers?
How do we feel about B Troopers? B Troopers, honestly, like, they're really fun deck. I would probably put them in Rogue, unfortunately.
I think so. The support was
I think that's perfect.
Abysmal. Like,
yeah, that was horrible.
1.5 cards are playable, and this had so much potential, but as it stands right now, it's like a good Rogue contender, but that's as much as it'll ever be if this is all we got.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with both of you. I think the deck, it goes really fast. It does a lot of summons, and it does not do much with them. They make a big dude.
You can make really interesting boards with them through stuff like Cicada King and Sting the Poison, but the types of disruption that they have access to, I think, are not poised very well. They don't, for example, they can't put up spell trap negates. And in a format where people are going to play like blowout cards, Shadal Fusion, evenly matched.
Lightning Storm,
they just get blown out.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to Cyber Dragons. I think Cyber Dragons fall. I mean, at least they can put up a negate, right? They can put up Infinity.
And
they can kill you.
Goons now.
Yeah. This deck honestly isn't a bad deck.
Just low representation.
I would say so. It has quite a few choke points. It's honestly kind of decent against a lot of the strategies right now that are making Appaloosa or Link monsters. It forces out the revolt against Tri Brigade sometimes. Not all the time, but like just the fact that you special summon a Cyber Dragon and threaten the Appaloosa
Right.
is pretty insane.
Yeah.
This deck though, I feel like it's not the worst deck. But I would personally put it in tier 2 or
Yeah.
Rogue.
I think we put it in Rogue with the caveat that it has a high potential to move up. Because it,
So
Yes.
Rogue in front of B Trooper or behind
I would
B
put
Trooper?
it in front.
Yeah, I would put it in front as well.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
In the right metagame, this like makes top cuts. So it's a Rogue, but it can move up depending on how things shift.
I'm fine with that. Let's talk about Numeron. Is this straight into Do Not Play?
I would not put it in Do Not Play. This deck, believe it or not, can. Sorry, I'm kind of like cutting off Skyhawk, but this deck can cheese out wins if you are not expecting it. It is a very, very good go second strategy. Not saying it's going to be very good against something like Sword Soul or any of the super meta relevant decks, but if you're like trying to have fun playing a rogue deck, this deck will destroy you.
And notably, the deck can make the easiest Utopic Draco Future you've ever seen.
Yeah. Yes. Also, no, this deck will just slap you. And again, this is like I would put it in Rogue with the potential to move up. People like took this to
Yeah.
the remote duel invitationals. People take this to
Yeah,
events.
it did well. Because the issue is its spell card literally gives you 4 summons. So like I'll give you like the prime example, right? Kaiju or Lava Golem your opponent's board. And most of the time they're going to be playing Droplet or Lightning Storm. That just blowout cards. And then they just summon all of the XYZ monsters and then just head into the Lava Golem and the game's over.
It is like
Yep.
it is an absolute like sacky deck. But the thing is, like, if they open, they go second, right? 6 cards. If they open the field spell and then 2 playable cards, you lose. So it's like it's a risk to play, but it can in the right meta, it just instant beats everything. So again, I think it's similar to Cyber Dragon, Rogue with the potential to move up.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So Don, are you at Do Not Play or Rogue?
I would put it in Rogue. We're gonna see a lot of Rogue decks.
There's a lot
Yeah, I think
playable
you're right.
because like in a format where Sword Soul is arguably the best deck, their boards are not unbeatable. And you can disrupt them if you go first quite effectively. So
I will say, if we put Numeron into Rogue, then realistically, Numeron's maybe the worst deck on this list. There might not be any unplayable decks if we consider Numeron Rogue.
I agree with you. I don't
Yeah.
think there are very many unplayable decks on this list. There's like I can see like 1 or 2, but
That's fair.
honestly, most of this stuff is playable.
Okay, well, let's talk about Sword Soul. Sword Soul this one's going to be contentious. This is a hot button one right
Throw it
here.
in tier 1. This deck is extremely explosive. It's really, really strong. That's just my own personal opinion. I think this deck, after testing enough with it and listening to, I'm not gonna say which players, because I don't want to like give out their strategy,
Mhm.
but I have talked to some very high leveled players, and they think this is the deck to beat right now. This is an extremely strong deck. It pumps out so many negations, and
So easily.
oh yeah, it's like a 1 card combo.
Yep.
This is why
Yeah.
we are buying out Token Collector, by the
Yeah.
way. This is one of the reasons.
Yep.
Yep.
I think I think this is very clear tier 1. I don't think it's unbeatable, which is why I think a lot of this stuff is super playable, because like they have the 1-card combos, but they have like disruption points, and their end boards are not like unbelievably menacing like Adamantipator stuff was doing. Like it seems like most of the time it's 2 big synchros and the trap card, which is a strong board, but it's certainly not unbeatable. And there are decks with matchups
the
too.
goal end board is it's that the Yang
Shishao?
Zing, the Yang Zing
Oh,
monster.
Baxia or
Not, I don't think it's.
Are you thinking?
Yazi?
Are you thinking?
It's the floodgate.
Uh,
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're
Not
talking
Yazi,
about.
huh?
It's not Chao Feng,
It's
is
not
it?
Yazi. It might be Chao Feng. I know Virtual World played it for a
Oh,
little bit.
Chao Feng. That's the one. Yeah.
So it is Chao
Yeah.
Feng. Okay. It's Chao Feng, and then the negate, and then the what is it? A banish, and then the trap card.
Oh, so they're doing like Chao Feng, Draco Berserker, Baron de Fleur, or are they not doing Baron and they're doing like the archetypal monster negate?
They're doing the archetypal, or there's another thing. People have been playing the come on, the Nemesis monster. It's actually a
Protoss.
floodgate as well.
Shadows and Protoss are crazy.
So the thing is, trap card target the that monster, and it can't be destroyed by card effects, so it doesn't pop. And then the trap card is just a free pop too, and it's a floodgate at the. I don't know. There's a lot you can do with this deck, and I don't like it at all.
Yeah, there's this actually feels kind of like VW on crack, because you have like it doesn't put up like an insane number of disruptions, but you can pivot through so many different options. So like you have
the really interesting thing to me about, like, not to cut you off, but the interesting thing to me, I don't know if you've seen the lists popping up. You mentioned Virtual World splashing a Sword Soul engine.
Yeah, they're worms.
I think I did see that.
You can do it. They're worms, so it makes like some synchro stuff easy to access. And I think there are some very specific lines where you can put up Baron before you do VW combos, which is quite strong. Something else to note, I think the Tenya build of this is the best build. Like Adhara and Ashuna are insane, and being able to have access to Vishuda as a go second card and as follow-up is just insane.
You know how we were just talking about Virtual World? Well, Virtual World has easy access to Beatrice, right?
Yeah.
With all the level 6s. Beatrice, effect, dump Tempest. Tempest summon itself out, synchro into Baron.
Yep.
Where did you get that from?
I played against it on DB today, and I was just like,
Do you remember their name? Because I have a very close friend that's been labbing that for like 2 weeks and considers himself the creator of it.
It honestly might just be a popular thing, because
that's hilarious.
I think
it's
I think
really
in
funny.
Yu-Gi-Oh people eventually discover everything.
True.
Like I think it's really cool that people are like innovating like that. That's a really sick play.
Yeah, the second we were on the phone when my friend, he was like, dude, wait a minute. What about Tempest? He's like, I could just go Beatrice and dump
That is a pretty
Tempest.
sick extension. It's not even like a bad extender to draw either.
And then like in your opponent's standby, you can dump Baldarok or whatever the dude's name is and activate Zombie World.
That sounds funny. Oh, you mean Necroworld Banshee?
Yeah, Necroworld Banshee. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're solid on Sword Soul tier 1.
Yeah. I think
probably the best deck, but not unbeatable. I think is where I'm at.
And if you guys weren't paying attention, I did share my screen so y'all can see the tier list as it develops.
Cool.
Next we have, is that Prank
That
Kids?
is Prank Kids.
Yeah. I can only recognize it because of the egg.
Battle Butler, my boy. This deck got severely hit on the last ban list. Super duper hurt.
Yeah. I didn't think it would fall off quite so bad.
I've got to be honest with you. This deck is still very playable. I
don't think it's good though.
I don't think not with this type of format, but I will say in January we are definitely going to see this deck have a lot more playability again.
Yep.
Brave
Token's pretty
Token
good.
will make this deck very strong.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
What are you thinking, tier 2?
I don't even want to put it in Rogue. I would put it in tier 2.
I think low.
It
That's
has.
what I was
I
thinking.
think it's still.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Don.
Oh, I was gonna say tier 2. Even possibility of being a tier 1.5 deck. Nobody's playing it anymore. But I just want to say you can recur the Meow Meow if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are ways. There are ways to make it work, and yeah, I totally agree. I think the reason it fell off is because it wasn't even like a very popular deck until it was one of the best decks of the format, even when it was still very
Yeah.
good at tier 2. So I think the reason is because the hit to Meow Moo happened, and then a bunch of people, a lot of higher level players are like, "Oh, I don't want to play the deck anymore. I lost the tool," even though it's like still
Yeah.
very very good.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
Any-
Pac took
Uh-huh.
it to like a locals or something and went like 2-2 or like 3-2 or something like that, and he was like, "It turns out it's pretty tough."
yeah. Honestly, the thing is, if this deck will always be good, all because it's one of those very few decks where your whole engine starts off of one card,
Yep.
which is your normals. I know it relies so much on the normal summon, but this is one of those decks that can afford to play so many tech cards if you wanted to. You could play 15 hand traps in a list and get
Yep.
away with it. Or 3
Yeah.
Solemns or 3 Tikaboo. The deck is it's like a mini toolbox deck. It's pretty
Yeah.
pretty
And I will
good.
say
It's kind of an open
there's a
canvas.
reason that this is one of the best shells for Crossout and for Brave Token, is because it just has the space.
Yeah.
For sure. So next we have MIT. I feel tier 2. What about this? What about you guys?
I think this deck is kind of lit.
Ooh,
I
Oh, the
I
deck's
I
good for
think
sure.
it's probably in
funny.
Rogue, but I think it is very underplayed for how good it is. It is also very big brain though, so I can see why not as many people are on it.
This
How
is
you feel, Don?
This is definitely a I know Vlad really likes this deck. I think Vlad actually won like pretty funny tournament with this deck. This deck is definitely rogue. It's a rogue deck.
Yeah. I think we're gonna go ahead and put it in tier 2.
I think I actually agree with Don. I think Rogue for now, but I think if more people pick it up,
Okay.
it could move.
We'll put it at the top of Rogue.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm down with that placement
All right.
actually.
Amazement, do not play.
This deck
Yeah.
has seen zero competitive success.
It has seen
Tops.
it has seen extravaganza tops, but mostly as Dragoon Turbo.
I was gonna say the only notable thing that I've seen this deck do was be played as an engine in muskets, and that was the topping
There was a
list.
guy who did that, yeah.
But I have not really seen it at all.
All right, we'll leave it in do not play.
Yeah,
Despia.
I just do not play on the edge of being Rogue.
Yeah.
Like, I think we,
I think pure Despias do not play, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is a universe where there is like a magical metagame that develops where this deck could be playable because it has easy OTKs and a very like interesting floodgate, but it just doesn't. It has kind of the same problem as the Albaz stuff does, where it doesn't do anything, but it like does a little bit. So I think not playable, but it
Right.
could move later.
All right. What about at Ignister?
This deck actually is not the worst. Let's put it like that. It is not the worst
Mhm.
deck.
I agree.
It is definitely very playable. You can play quite a few hand traps as well as cross out and get away
Yep.
with it.
It gets big. The guys get big.
It relies very heavily on going first though. And setting up that because once he hits the field, there's not a lot of cards that can really
Yep.
stop him. Not only that, but turn 2, turn 3 theoretically. When they make their access code, he is the biggest boy you have ever seen. He is literally the
Large.
biggest. He is very large and in charge. I personally
And in
think
charge.
this is a tier 2
Mhm.
deck for
I agree.
sure.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm somewhere in between tier 2 and tier 1.5, but I'm perfectly happy with tier
I think
2.
it's 2. I think again, it's one of the. This is one of those like the format shifts and it creeps in kind of thing. Because this did top events. Like
Yeah.
Hey, top the YCS.
Yeah.
So, what about Magic Key?
This deck, it's like a funny engine in ritual
Yeah.
decks that you could theoretically
and it's
play.
like a really funny Hulk Turbo deck too.
It's the
Yeah.
best way to play vanilla monsters in 2021. Can we all agree on that?
Swords
What?
Soul plays vanillas.
Sword Soul.
Oh wait, no, duh, you're totally right.
No, I'm a ballpark elitist,
that's true.
so I believe that is that is the best normal monster
I
deck.
am the chief propagandist for Terror King Salmon Incorporated, and as such, I must dispute your claims.
I would not.
You know
play
what?
That.
I'm just gonna rep Geminis. What about that? Does that count?
No.
Okay, buddy.
Okay, Mr. Ill Blood.
All right, we have 2 dino enthusiasts in the call right now, and we can both agree our deck is not the most playable at the moment. I would put
Dino? No, I think Dino is strong rogue. I think you are underestimating it. I don't think it's in the tier 2 slot.
Oh no, I agree that it's a rogue deck. I'm just saying if I would not take this to an event personally.
I would. I'm likely to be taking Fluffle to the YCS. Spoiler alert. But
I was just about to ask what's gonna happen here. Why is Fluffle not on this tier list? That's what I want to know.
That is a great
my goal is to
question.
do some regional grinding, and then people will be putting Fluffle on the tier list. But the thing with Dino right now is that I think there's a lot of unexplored space, especially in a meta where people might start playing less hand traps. I think we can play this as a going first deck again. And something to note, while this is rogue, I might start playing Trap Dino again because Survival's End against the Sword Soul matchup is an FTK. It is insane. So I think it is rogue, but keep an eye because something else too, right? In a format where there are decks like Phantom Knight, and in a format where there are decks that put up very funny locks, and in a format where there's a lot of Artifact Scythe. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno does not care about Artifact Scythe. So that is something to consider. If everything shifts to Scythe Turbo, I think Dino actually has a place in the format as a UCT Turbo list. But I also think it is possible to play as a trap deck or as a heavy combo variant focused on extending through hand traps and disruption. But I agree that it's rogue right now.
So we're thinking
it's
bel-
top of rogue,
Yeah.
honest.
above or below MIT?
I would say
put it above. Dino still can do things. The issue is this is the problem, and I'm just gonna I'll make it quick. I don't want to take too long. The deck can make an absurd going first board, but with the amount of access to blowout cards like Dark Ruler No More, Mine, even like Droplet, TTT, it's just the deck really struggles to deal with like those interruptions, and it has very poor grind game now because of having only one Misk. Misk was such a good grind game card. Like after say I set up a really good board turn 1, you break all of it, as long as like you don't have enough interruption, I just get another Misk to my hand and I'm good to go.
Being able to set up Misk Rex is so sick, and like having that Misk under the Dolka. Now you have to get gimmicky doing stuff like Nemesis Keystone or Bushinki Amaterasu. And those using those engines to recycle Misk make you a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah.
I would like to make the argument for why MIT should actually be above Dino in the rogue category. And my argument is MIT now has a bigger bungus with the Machina Ruin.
Have you all seen? Okay, I know I'm taking up extra space, but for those listening to the podcast, you will be interested in this. Go to the Mambo YGO channel and check out the Ruin Force Turbo list. It is the stupidest thing I have ever seen in my life. It is
But he's
Reasoning Gate Ruin Force Turbo, and the idea is you just like Reasoning or Monster Gate to send as many level 12 machine monsters as you can to the graveyard, and you FTK by just summoning Ruin Force a whole bunch of times and making Gustav max 4 times. You can recycle one with Unicorn or with the Machina Trap card, which you play one of. It is a ridiculous
That's
OTK deck. And there's another funny play, but go look it up. Anyway, that's all I have to say, but I had to mention it with Ruin Force.
How do we feel about Burning Abyss?
So I'm actually gonna classify BA and PK in the like same category because they are theoretically played together. You people can argue against me. If we're just talking pure
Like Trap BA.
this deck is Trap BA is actually not that bad. I would actually put Trap BA in tier 2.
That's what I was kind of thinking, is that BA could be like Trap BA and PK could be like the Phantom Knight lists that we're seeing going around.
Yeah,
where they just have like
Yeah.
one or two BA monsters.
well, I mean, they play Cherubini and they also play
Searing
was
Graph.
it Searing
No,
Graph,
hold on.
so-
Occasionally they play Skarm.
Okay, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, you
One
got me there.
farm.
You got me there. I'd put it in tier 2. Trap
agree.
BA is actually not bad. It's not
I'm
a
with
bad
it.
deck.
What about Altergeist?
Dawn,
I think we know where this
you might
goes,
have a
right?
lot to say about this one after today.
This deck sucks, especially when you open all Geists. Okay, anyways, no.
Okay, so wait. Your build playing too many monsters is not.
No,
No, that is
that's-
not the case. I got unlucky.
For
I'm
context,
very
at
unlucky
the MBT Subathon remote duels today, Dawn opened some very unfortunate Altergeist hands against Plunder.
Yeah, I was watching when that happened.
I opened double Meliseek, double Hextia,
Oh,
what was it? Kumkiri, and then like Extrav, and then the Extrav drew me another monster and one trap card. Yeah.
Well, I think it honestly. I think trap decks are actually really good right now. I think it's tier 1.5. I'm just being honest.
This deck won an invitational in
Yep.
Europe a month ago. I think this deck is actually extremely good, and a lot of people don't give it credit for like
Yep.
what it can do. I'd put it in tier 1.5 or tier 2. I'm torn between the two.
That's two. That's 2 votes for tier 1.5. Whatever you have to say doesn't matter.
I'm in for
Skyhawk.
tier. That's true. I'm in for tier 1.5. All I'll say is that if like they stop you from playing for one turn, the advantage engine is ridiculous.
This deck has one of the most absurd grind games ever, and it's like gets to the point where it's like, okay, I could see if I can make a comeback, but it's not worth it. It's like it takes too much time to like try and break what they have set up. Like Protocol being a negate, Silk Bounce plus the what is it called? Call the Haunted. It's just this deck's
also like with Solemn
really
Strike arguably being like one of the silliest cards in the game right now.
Oh
any deck that can like jam it and have it work is instantly in a good place.
I just want to say this deck is really good at going first, but even if it's forced to go second, TT Strike is literally an FTK versus a lot of decks.
Yeah. What about Dragon Link?
Dragon Link is
really good.
I honestly think this deck is extremely good still. You have to be a very intelligent duelist to pilot this deck. The people that are doing extremely well with this deck are professionals. This deck takes a very intelligent
there is a world
pilot.
of difference between an intensely skilled Dragon Link player and like a good Dragon Link player. There's a skill gap on this.
There's a big reason that Hoban came back into the game and he immediately picked up this new
I
mid-rangey
have my
Dragon
own
Link
opinions
deck.
about Hoban,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a good reason. Yeah. Appaloosa's a floodgate, by the way.
Whoa there, let's slow down. Let's not spread
Um,
fake news on the podcast.
This deck is tier 1, tier 1.5 in my opinion.
I think it's the best
I
tier
agree.
1.5
I
deck in
think
the
put it
game.
in 1.5 for now, but I think results will push it to 1.
What about this zombies? That's what it was. I almost called it Argoatic, but it's not. It's zombies.
Strong
What is
rogue.
it?
Zombies are a very interesting rogue deck.
Yeah, they're a rogue because they have Zombie World, right?
Zombie World alone can win games
Yep.
against a lot of decks, believe it or not.
Try
And
Brigade
Zombie
Try.
World plus Rivalry Lock wins games against every
Something
deck,
interesting to
pretty
note,
much.
Baron de Fleur is actually a massive boost to this deck too. Previously, they did not have that much access to generic ED negates without jumping through a lot of hoops. Baylor Drock is an 8, and they have a lot of interesting level 2 tuners they can play, such as Plague Spreader Zombie. So,
Also, Unizombie is a tuner, which gives them access to the Hawk engine, and that is also
Yep.
their best starter card. So,
yeah.
Crazy.
So,
Yeah.
like this deck has a lot of choke points, but you will occasionally just straight up lose to it. So, strong rogue, I think.
So Halcadon zombies, let's go.
Or just a Hulk Dogda, frankly.
True.
What about Shadal? And there is a Dogmatica and an Invoked. I don't know.
I've got to be honest with you.
Don't know how y'all want to classify this.
Pure Shadal is, you don't really see it.
Yeah, Trap
all.
Doll has fallen off.
Everybody plays IDS, and I think it should stay like that. Like I haven't really seen like any other invoked builds playing pure or like mech invoked anymore. It's when you see Shadal, you already know it's going to be Dogmatica and invoked in it. I would honestly put them all in the same category.
Tier 2? All of them?
I think
I would put them in.
I am
1.5.
tempted to put it in tier 1, to be frank. I think the only reason I think maybe 1.5 just because it's like an amalgamation of all of them. But I think this deck, I think tier 1.5, but I think it leans into tier 1. The only thing that I think will be wonky is that I think people are going to be playing a lot more outs to Winda. Forbidden Chalice is going to see a lot more play, as is Forbidden Droplet. So that is something to consider. But like you have to deal with Winda, and dealing with Winda on top of Punishment, Macabre, and hand traps is a monumental task.
Mm-hmm. I will say, this deck is the definition of the toolbox deck of the format. You can play this deck with so many tech cards right now. It is ridiculous. You can play any hand trap you want. You can play any trap card you want. You can. It's really
very
cool.
plug and play.
It's crazy.
So I guess maybe just pop all 3 of them into tier 1.5.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Very hard though.
What about Adamantipator? Fun rogue?
Honestly, this deck topped not like literally last week. I'm pretty sure, or it was
better than Cyber Dragon, worse than Machina Infinitrack?
I would put it in tier 2.
I think that's bold. I don't know about. I mean, I guess if we're going on the result, then tier 2. I would say it would be like the worst tier 2 deck if we're putting it there. But I can get on board with that.
Yeah, tier 2 rogue definitely.
Okay. What about
Tier
Phantom
1.
Knight? Phantom Knight, I
don't even need to say anything. This deck is so
insane.
absurd.
I agree, it's insane. What about Drytron?
I'm biased against this deck, and I really hate this deck. So I would put it I would literally be like, put it in tier 1 because I hate it. It's stupid, but it's tier 1. Tier 1.
I think I'm putting it in 1.5.
I think the representation has fallen enough that I think it should go in 1.5, probably above, or right, maybe even right below Dragon Link.
This won the last invitational though, so I just want to put that in there.
It's so weird, right? Because like if people shift to board breakers, I feel like this actually gets better. because if you have to board break their whole board and they sit with the orange lights in hand, it's really tough to deal with.
Yeah,
True.
if you don't open the board breaker, you kind of
Yeah.
just lose the game.
Yeah.
But also, their boards are so oppressive, and their turn 3 is you lose on turn 3.
Yep.
100. Like, what is it? One name in
Yeah.
graveyard and one
It's
name
not
in
even just
hand, they
one
full
name.
combo
It's
you.
just like they
It's
can even just have a ritual monster.
it's just so. I think this is. I'm so biased, but I think this and Virtual were some of the most poorly designed like deck choices like ever. I
I
hate
think
how
the
they just
yeah, I don't know. I think the
keep
Drytron
going.
monsters are like cool and based. I think the Herald rituals are just stupidity.
Okay, that's fair. I will give you that. I agree with
That's
that.
fair.
I do not like the Herald
like I
stuff.
think Drytron using ritual engines to make like regular combo boards would actually be kind of cool. But like the Herald monsters are
Yeah.
so oppressive.
I think the Drytron Megalith deck is like the coolest thing
Completely
ever
agree.
invented.
Bathor
It's
is
very
extremely
cool.
nice.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Next is Infernoble. How do we feel about Infernoble? I really view this deck very similarly to Machina Infinite Track. I really do.
Mm,
Like not they don't play the same, like, but as far as representation,
this deck has
potential
a
power
I think strong
level,
rogue.
Yeah, very strong rogue
Because
deck.
it's like super vulnerable, but if the format shifts to board breakers, this deck actually gets insane because they will just rip your entire hand, and then your forbidden droplets doesn't matter.
I think the issue is I think the issue though, like particularly right now, is that Nib is really good right now, and if Nib is really good, then this
like
deck's
this deck
really
can play
bad.
cross out, but you also have to draw cross out, and also it's really bad going second. But if it wins the dice roll,
Yeah.
you may just be screwed. So strong rogue.
Isolde is a pretty good Yu-Gi-Oh card. What about Dragoonity?
Dragoonity.
Hmm.
I have mixed opinions about Dragoonity, and honestly, this deck it's played as an engine in
Yep.
certain Dragon Link builds. But if we're talking pure Dragoonity, I would put it in Do Not Play. But if we're talking about the Dragon Link Dragoonity,
Yeah,
I'd put it
'cause
in Rogue.
There are metas
Or
where the
Tier 2.
Dragoonity thing is a thing, because I know Elise Davis was like really pilled on this for a while.
Yeah.
It's
Somewhere near Numeron?
yeah, I think I'd maybe just put it unplayable just on its face, but as an engine in Dragon Link, it has a place. Because it's more gas, it sets up an early negate. But it can cause some clogging issues, and it means you have less space for non-engine cards. So yeah.
Right. What about Fluwanderese? Another contentious deck
I don't
right in the
know,
corner,
man. This is
apparently.
weird.
I don't like this deck.
Nobody likes it.
This deck has its
It's so
grind game is
weird.
absurd. It's absurd.
The floodgates in this deck are
Tier
crazy.
I really like the fact that it can
Yeah,
play
I like
Book
that a
of
lot.
Moon,
Yeah,
by
as
the
a
way.
hand trap counter and as a go second tool, it's pretty sick.
But it's
Yeah.
very annoying that they can recur the trap card and recur all their resources,
Yeah.
and they play on your turn. Like
I think
Droll is a funny turn ender, though.
I think this is tier 2, but it has the potential to move up.
yeah,
I
was
think
gonna
it's
say
tier
high.
1.5.
I was gonna say tier 1.5.
I'm not convinced yet. We can put it at 1.5 if you want.
We need to see
Yeah,
more
I need
of the deck played.
I need to
guess.
see more of it to be convinced. I don't think it is. I think it is good, but I don't
The
think it is
highest
like
tier 2.
crazy.
All right. What about Live Twins?
This deck is
It's so weird. It feels like it should be good, but it's not.
It's just not.
It has everything, but
It's-
it's just not there. I don't know what it is.
Everything except for playability.
I would
I
throw
think
this
so.
deck in Rogue.
I think
and
somebody
leave
who
it
is like
there.
an insanely cracked pilot who has been like labbing specific ratios for a bajillion years will do really well with this. But it's
It got top 4 at one
Yeah.
of our tournaments last
Yeah.
month without
Uh,
trouble signing. And I
Rogue
whacked
with the
him.
potential to move up,
Got him in
but I don't know if it will.
Don't they
Yeah,
like
well.
play Scythe? I feel like I swear they played
Doesn't
Sentinel
everybody?
and Scythe.
Yeah, they do.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we? Hey, there's a reason why Chalice is so
Yep.
so played right now.
All right, Hero Rogue.
I actually don't think Hero is
I
a
kind of
rogue
want to
deck.
tier 2 this.
I think Hero is a. Yeah, I think Hero
I
is a
think
tier 2
the
deck.
reason you're not seeing it is
Okay.
because of how expensive it is.
Fair. That's fair.
It is a flex
Yeah.
deck. That
No.
is 100% correct. My issues with this deck is it cannot put out a reasonable negate
Yeah.
to
Okay.
deal with blowout cards like Nibiru, Storm.
Imagine paying $1,000
So-
to end on a crazy board
Yeah.
of a Nibiru token.
So I agree with you, Don, but access to a disruption in the form of DPE is actually a big deal.
Yeah, I do agree. Now that DP is out, this deck has a lot of things that it can do
I think
now.
tier 2, it might go down to Rogue at some point, but I think people will people love this deck, so it'll see play and people will sneak into top cuts with it. I think.
I should also mention Dark
Yeah.
Law alone can literally win for so many games. Dark Law is a pain in
And
the
if they
ass
chalice,
to
you
deal
could just
with.
activate another mask change. Well, then it's like there's a reasonable play
Got
around
'em.
here.
Madolche.
Seeing a lot of success actually. In
I
Europe.
Top 4
low key I
class-wise,
want to
yes.
tier 2 this, if not like the best Rogue deck, because like this deck is good.
Yeah.
I also
This
like the
deck
idea
can
of tier 2
also
again.
play Crossout now.
Huh.
And it can play a bajillion hand traps.
And it can play 3 of the best hand trap in the game.
Yeah.
It can. It can
D-shifter.
play D-shifter, which is absurd. And
I think either the strongest Rogue deck or tier 2. Okay,
I have it at the bottom of tier 2 currently. Mirage Stalio or Salamangreat.
Don't play.
Okay, this is an unpopular opinion, but I heard somebody say this recently, but there's no reason to be playing this deck right now. It's so bad.
Unplayable?
Dude, Salad is so bad. One Gazelle, it's
most
Rhoda's
lines
still at
are
one,
not
too?
even like making the Mirage Stalio because it's actively worse.
You just get Nibiru tokens. This deck is just
bad.
It relies too much on back row now for it to even be like. The reason why this deck was insane was you bought 3 of the structure deck and you could play so many hand traps with it, and you could recur Ash Blossom every turn. You weren't playing the game. I hated this deck.
Yeah, I can hear
it
that.
so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's bad. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like stuff could come off the list for it, but yeah, don't play this deck.
I do not think that this deck is necessarily, good, but
I agree.
I think the artwork's cool.
Tier 1.
What about Tri Brigade?
1.5 tier 1, easily.
1.5.
I think there's a fair argument for 1.5, but I kind of want to put it in 1 until it proves otherwise.
No, there's not.
The only reason why I'm saying 1.5 is I don't think pure Tri Brigade is the move anymore.
Well, no, you can't play it pure. I mean, you can, but don't.
Bird Tri Brigade is definitely crazy. Sir, I was watching Sir Eminon's video.
You could do some very cool stuff.
Holy crap, dude! That man put in work for that.
Yeah, I haven't figured out the combo lines to the Lyralist version. Currently, I'm still playing Zeus.
Go watch the Eminon video. It'll pill you on the deck. Whenever Eminon puts out a detailed guide for something, you know what's up.
Right. Yeah. What about Eldritch?
So some people call Eldritch a rogue deck. I still think Eldritch is actually a very playable
I
deck.
think tier 2 right now. I see a lot of it on DB.
Yeah.
I think Eldritch is tier 1.5.
That's not like an insane take. I would
Yeah.
personally put it in tier 2, but there are probably arguments to make. It's like
I'd put it the
yeah,
higher up of
I
tier 2,
agree.
though.
My argument for this being tier 1.5 is that it got first place at our case tournament, trophy tournament with 50 people the other day because turns out those purple
Yeah,
cards
I
are
mean,
pretty good
in a
cards.
format where people are doing
Yeah.
combo-ish stuff, set 5 is pretty
My
solid.
Yeah.
if Geist is tier 1.5, I see
Uh,
no reason that
I will
Eldritch
be
is not
willing to
also
put
tier
it in
1.
tier 1.5, just solely for the fact that the alternate artwork is very sexy. So
True. He is definitely
yeah, so I think we
booling in
could
that
move it to
artwork.
1.5.
What do you think? Do you think that Eldritch is like what about 6'6", 6'7", right?
Yeah.
He's my height for sure.
What if he was in a maid outfit? Do you think that would be better?
I agree,
Oh my
actually.
God.
Yo, Don, honestly, like if we both want to show up to Pasadena with the maid outfits, I'm in.
Oh my God.
I'll do it.
I had to. I had to say something at least once.
Okay.
No, you're not. You're staying with me. You're not doing that.
What do you mean? Of course I am.
We're rooming together. Whoa, let's slow down. Let's talk about Grand Maju. All right, let's change the subject.
This is a really funny rogue deck. And it can actually steal wins.
I agree. I think it's as rogue and as playable as Numeron.
Mm-hmm. Similar like thing. If they
I'm gonna
open
say
the
it's
sauce,
even
you're
better.
just kind of
It's
dead.
even better than Numeron because it doesn't
Oh,
restrict
it
you
is.
into anything.
And the danger
Uh,
package is pretty cool sometimes, especially now that
Danger
Nessie
package
is
is
moving up.
really good. Having
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
rank, that rank. I was playing this on DB
The
last night until 5 a.m. Actually, if you guys don't.
Oh,
believe me.
this is what you're bringing to Pasadena.
No. But
I know the answer, but I'm keeping it under
yeah,
wraps.
Grand Maju having access to Sanafond is
Yep.
really, really good against PK. As
Sanafod
long
is
as
so
you don't-
stupid.
Sanafond is an absurd floodgate, by
Yep.
the way.
Good Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah,
Because
and like
your opponent literally can't do anything except impermit on your turn. Because it's till the end of your opponent's turn is
Yep.
when its effect wears off. But it
Mhm.
shits on Tri-Brigade, it shits on BA, or PK, excuse me, and Drytron, I'm pretty sure as well. It's funny.
Or you can just do what I did the last time I played against this deck. I just picked all the dangers out of his hand and I won. It was great.
Well, I mean, we can't all be American snipers. This,
on.
I went like 5 for 5 on danger calls in 2 games. It was great.
yeah,
So
this deck can be tricked out too. Like you can play D shifter, and that also makes it rogue. Like
yeah.
yeah.
What about Sky Striker?
Tier 2.
I want to.
I'm a lot closer to unplayable than tier 2.
I gotta be honest. I want to put this in unplayable.
Really?
I don't
Imperial
think
Order
it's
is a
very
heck of a
good.
card.
It's weird. Like I think it's weird because I think with like an extremely good pilot, this is a tier 2 deck. But I feel like on its face, it has not done anything the last like 3 months.
Pair with
Yeah.
Eldritch and go undefeated at the YCS.
It really hasn't done enough, but I have been watching people play DPE in this deck.
Oh, that's true. Actually, I
and
have
it's
seen
doing
that.
Very
So we have
well.
some tier 2, we have some
Okay.
rogue. I mean, we have some DNP. Are we thinking rogue?
This deck,
Settle in the middle.
Rogue is the compromise.
I'm just gonna say this right now. This deck in particular was the toolbox deck of its time. It was the
True.
best toolbox deck, and I still want to say it is the best toolbox deck of all time. Just because Engage let you search, or Hayate let you dump anything that you needed
Yep.
to help pick apart your opponent's board.
And it's got like access to both negation, floodgate-esque effects, and graveyard disruption is very strong.
This deck takes, like I said about Dragon Link, but this deck
Million IQ.
instead of comboing off like Dragon Link does, this deck, you just have to be really smart with how you use your spell card.
Right.
Yep.
What about Subterror?
This deck actually isn't that bad. This deck is still full power. It kind of relies a lot on the coin flip. I personally think Subterror is a tier 2 strategy. Because Dragoon, they still play Dragoon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they're on Dragoon over DPE.
Dragoon is so good for the deck. Like, the Guru is already, like, obnoxious to deal with, like, with Fiendess and all of the purple cards that they play.
Yeah. The Hidden City also, like, the battle protection is really annoying. You have to, like,
Yeah.
jump through hoops to get rid of a Guru.
I'm a personal, like, tier 2.
I'm with that.
Yeah. I have it in Rogue. I think representation numbers aren't necessarily there, which I know is not like the end all be all,
Yeah.
but I think it's an extremely like floodgate.deck reliant, and at the end of the day, in a format with a lot of blowouts, it's not as good.
The thing is, you could say the blowouts are really, really crazy, but Fiendess being an Omni Negate is ridiculous.
That's true.
Dark Ruler doesn't really do much against this deck. All you're gonna do is negate the Dragoon.
I've been convinced.
Droplet also doesn't do much against this deck.
Sorry to interject. As we are recording this podcast, House of Champs has just tweeted, and it's gone. A Mayakashi return has been completely bought out.
Oh my gosh.
I was asking. I asked before the podcast started. What's
hey,
the
you know
buyout
what? I got
target?
the whole deck.
Now you're rich.
I guess so.
True.
I'm gonna be honest. I have not sold anything on TCG Player, so I don't know how to do any of that.
That's true.
I'll help you out, buddy.
Let's
So we also next we have that other thing, Zodiac. Everything, every Mayakashi card on TCG has jumped by like $3 to $4 to $5.
It took an hour.
Return has gone. It's been bought out. Hajin has gone. It has been bought out. Yeah, it's.
Anyway,
I hate Yu-Gi-Oh players in America.
Yeah, the American market.
I should say North
really
America.
Sucks.
Anyway,
the North. Yeah.
I'm gonna take the heat off of. I'm gonna take the heat off of myself because I definitely asked this question earlier. Zodiac, unplayable.
This is a Zeus Turbo deck, and it plays blind going second with a ton of hand traps and blowout cards.
I would say Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Zeus carries this deck.
Does it carry it to Rogue though?
Yeah.
Easily. I could argue that this is like up there with Adamancipator. Like, it's definitely still playable.
But it's not around here.
So attack directly.
Yeah.
Go into 6 Matt Zeus is pretty insane.
It really is. What about Orchest?
Orchest players copium. They're still coping to this day.
I think copium is the only reason it's on this list.
Right now, unplayable.
I agree.
Yeah, I would not play this deck. I wouldn't try to play this deck. I played against one last night on DB, and it was the fastest 2-0 of my life. I felt so bad.
What about Virtual World? I think this is easy.
1.5.
I think it's easy one. Easy one.
This deck is so.
It's wonky because it has like its issues with inconsistency, but if the engine is rolling, hand traps are like only kind of okay. And in a format with less hand traps, this deck can pivot to so many different types of disruption, and they can kill you like 2 ways from tomorrow.
I do not like that deck. I don't like this deck. I don't like Drytron. I think they're two of the most unhealthy decks ever created for this game.
That's fair, actually.
Say Spiral's bad, but no, Spiral is not as bad as either of those decks. I'm so biased.
Fair.
I'm so
Yeah. I guess one thing to mention now that the list is done, I think there are I think there is one deck on here that might have to warrant further consideration later, and that's Mech Knight. Shannon Long just hit a second place at a regional with an insane mech list, so we might see that pop up. But aside from that, I think this is a pretty good list.
Yeah, I agree. I like the list a lot. I might be a little biased on it, but I like it. So, I think the other thing to note is that this list moves probably, right? Like this is not like the end all be all.
Oh yeah, there will be shifts for sure.
Yeah.
I think things are not very defined. People aren't totally sure exactly what the best build of Sword Soul is. People aren't sure how good Dragon Link is. People aren't sure how good trap cards are. I think there will be people don't realize that PK is insane even now. So I think there will be lots of moving and shifting here. And the crazy thing is, almost everything on this list is like playable to some capacity. You can succeed playing almost anything here.
Yeah, I agree. So, but that I think could be wrong, but I think might wrap us up. How you feeling, fellas?
That was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
feel
good.
Like we got some good stuff done.
Yeah.
Now it's time, baby.
It's time.
It's time, Skyhawk. You already know where we gotta go.
That's true.
It's modcast time.
Let's
Oh.
go.
Oh, we gotta go do modcast.
Speaking of which,
Oh, that's a great segue. Thank you so much for saying that. So that I'm so glad you said that, Don. Honestly, thank you, because I was in the middle of sending a tweet and I forgot. So thank you, because we, thanks to Skyhawk, have gotten the opportunity of a lifetime. Tomorrow being the day you listen to this podcast, Friday, November 12th, we will be on the Modcast on MBT's Subathon stream. Woo!
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah, I've got y'all booked for an hour, for a half hour to an hour interview segment. I thought it would be really cool to bring you guys on.
I'm all for it. I'm so happy to even have the opportunity. So, we're gonna have some fun. There will be hilarity will ensue, is how I'll say it.
Yeah. Don't you worry. I got some fun questions planned. This will be good.
Okay, so speaking of fun questions, before we go, you guys got to help me. We got to do a really, really quick podcast question of the day.
Sure.
So, last podcast question of the day was, what is your white whale Yu-Gi-Oh card? The card that you've always wanted but never gotten around to acquiring. We got some great replies on Twitter, Starlight Appaloosa, Secret Rare Pot of Dualities, just different ghost rares, different ultis, every card ever made. That's a good one. But mine was the Secret Rare First Ed Gate Guardian. So
That's a pretty good pick.
yeah. What about you guys?
Man, you really just are gonna lay it on me like that. Huh?
Yeah.
Just
I've been
like
known to do that.
You're gonna have to give me at least 3 minutes.
Okay, and I can answer first then. If you need some time to think, Don. I have two. And it's the two remaining pieces of the Dino collection. I have everything else that exists. The two that I need, that I will eventually pick up once I think I'll flip some stuff and I'll find the right time. But I need an Ulti Frostosaurus, and I want a Battle Pack prize card Jurak Guaiba. Those are the two white whales for me.
Understandable. While Don thinks, I'm gonna read out some answers from our Discord server. So we have Ghost Dark Rebellion. We have the Ulti Frostosaurus. Gee, you wonder who said that. Ulti Dark Law playset of ulti Whiptails. Lots of ultis going around in here. Ghost Black Rose, Secret Rare Judgment Dragons, DDS Blue Eyes, of course. Ulti Red Eyes. There was no Ulti Red Eyes, was there? I don't know. Secret Dark Arm Dragon. The Ultra BLS. A Bandai Namco era Gate Guardian. That's
Pretty
cool.
rocking. Hey, we
That's
might
cool.
get the Dark Magician art. The Bandai Dark Magician art at some point in TCG. The OCG did get that just recently. So it is possible that we could get some of that art stuff to come over here.
I have my answer.
All right. I'm excited to hear this.
Same.
And it's actually a very controversial.
Ooh.
If I could own a card, one card that I do not own, it would probably have to be near mint, ultimate rare, Astral Pack 4. What am I going to say? I feel like
Astral
Skyhawk.
Pack 4. Is this
I
a
know where
Dandelion?
this is going. Oh my god.
Not Necro Valley, but Max E.
Oh.
It would. I actually have a bet going on with a player. If Max C were to ever come off the ban list, this individual said that they would buy me a single copy of Ultimate Rare Max C.
They're gonna be shelling out an insane amount of
This
money for
card
that.
is so expensive.
It is
I
crazy.
love the artwork for Max C so much.
Fair, the ulti is like a truly beautiful printing.
I have a friend that has a playset that he uses and plays in his max rarity plant synchro deck, and
Gosh.
it's nice. It's good looking, and with when you play it, when he plays an ulti tour guy, and then like later on he max sees you with an ulti max C, and then he like summons an ulti dandelion. It's just, oh man, it's something else.
Yeah. That card, I know it's probably considered the most like controversial card in and possibly the most broken, one of the most broken cards ever. Top 3. I will say top 3 most broken cards ever printed. I just love how chaotic this card is. It resembles nothing but just horror.
Yep.
Horror.
Yeah.
This card is so dumb.
I love the concept of them. They're like insects that are like hiding between the furniture.
And
I
then
don't, the concept, like the C cards are really sick.
they printed the boy, and when they printed the boy, I was like, dang, ballpark best deck now.
True.
What's his name?
Shiny
friend,
black squatter C.
Let me pull up the video. I think it's on his YouTube, but it's really, he literally just has pages on pages of, because we loved ballpark so much. It was literally just like our deck.
That's awesome.
I don't know where the video is, but yeah. Anyways, Max C's my card.
I can respect that.
A good pick.
And today's podcast question of the day is, what is your Yu-Gi-Oh accessory that you splurged on? What's that accessory? Like, I have a extremely nice, extremely expensive deck box, but like my accessory that I splurged on, that I like bought for myself, that was a lot of money, was I got one of the head-to-head battles, the backpacks that were like $90, $100.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So like when those went on pre-order, I got one of those. So that was my accessory that I like spent a lot of money. I was like, I need it, you know?
I have not. I have a boring answer to this. I have not like spent that much money on accessories. I am very much like super minimal when it comes to owning Yu-Gi-Oh stuff in general. I just have stuff that I want. Like I have stuff that I got for prizing from the Invitational. That's pretty cool. But like, I only very recently just got an Ultimate Guard Sidewinder. I was using like the $3 plastic deck boxes before. Definitely worth the upgrade. But like that's the most I've pretty cheap when it comes to accessories.
Fair enough.
I would say, personally, I have not. The only money that I've spent on Yu-Gi-Oh! Like stuff are the cards themselves. So I can't really say I've bought like a super nice deck box or super expensive mat.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say the most expensive purchase I made was probably the triple prosperities.
Mm.
That was probably the most expensive thing.
I was gonna say that was gonna be it. I guess for like the most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh purchase, it might have been Extravagance, the playset before YCS Niagara to play Dino.
One more time, do what? I didn't hear you.
Oh, it might have been the Extravagances to play Dino, but yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for listening to our longest episode ever. Not a joke. This is it. We made it, y'all.
Whoops.
It's okay. This episode's gonna clock in at about an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh my god, the people get content.
Yo,
Woo! Content.
there's lots of content when the Don's talking.
That's true.
Yeah. We got
Man is a content machine.
we got 3 very lovable talking people in a room going at it. So but thank you everybody for listening. Be sure to check out all of those things I told you earlier to check out. Be sure to check out our Discord. Be sure to check out ETB Games. Be sure to check out our Patreon page. Be sure to check out us on Twitter, where we just posted that tier list. I took a screenshot and posted it on Twitter if you're interested in looking at that. People are already in my mentions. It's going great. Be sure to look up Skyhawk Sings and the Don Juan. Both of their channels will be in the description box below. Be sure, you got to be on the Twitter because that's where you're going to get the awesome YCS Pass CD and a selfie with all of us. But be sure to be there. Be sure to be in our Discord and check out Team Dark Arm Dealings. Their link will be in the description below. I think that's it. Did I miss anything, guys, or is that it?
That's all.
And check us out on the Modcast tonight if you actually get 2 hours into this episode in one day. So have a good night.